Join us on Patreon and become part of our journey to uncover history's untold stories. Your support helps us create in-depth content, bring hidden narratives to life, and keep history alive for everyone.
There is something ancient hidden in the mountains of Africa, something whispered through centuries by monks cloaked in silence, scribes whose ink bled into parchment by candlelight, and priests who guarded scrolls the world had forgotten. While the rest of the Christian world turned its gaze toward Rome and Jerusalem, Ethiopia remained seated like a lion watching over a sacred flame that never went out. In the realm of prophecy, especially the Book of Revelation, much has been said about the dragon, a fearsome beast that wages war against heaven and devours the stars. But Ethiopia, with its own biblical canon, mystic traditions, and theological independence, may hold a forgotten key to decoding the mystery of the dragon's identity. The question is shocking, almost blasphemous to some. Did Ethiopia name the dragon of Revelation? And if so, who or what did they say it was? To understand this revelation, one must begin in the shadows of antiquity, in a place where Christianity was not just a religion but a throne of memory. Ethiopia was one of the first Christian nations on earth, declaring Christ as king in the early 4th century, long before much of Europe heard the gospel. But Ethiopian Christianity was never merely a reflection of the West. It developed with its own sacred texts, traditions, and apocalyptic interpretations. Central to its mysticism are texts not found in the Western Bible, the Book of Enoch, Jubilees, 1 Maccabean, not to be confused with Maccabees, and numerous apocalyptic scrolls preserved in Guizi, the ancient liturgical language of the Ethiopian Church. In these texts, the dragon is not merely symbolic. In fact, the term used in Guizi sometimes appears not as a metaphorical beast, but as a literal force tied to ancient rebellion. The dragon of Revelation, traditionally identified as Satan in Christian exegesis, takes on a more nuanced identity in Ethiopian theology. The Keber Nagast, the Glory of Kings, Ethiopia's most sacred royal chronicle, even offers hints that the adversary in the heavens is not always the same being as the one named Satan in later Western texts. It tells of angelic rebellions, ancient wars, and an entity that sought dominion not merely over man, but over the divine order itself. This being, according to some Ethiopian interpretations, is named Arwe, also known as Wenaba. Arwe is no mere myth. Ethiopian oral history and medieval chronicles describe Arwe as a monstrous serpent or dragon that ruled over Ethiopia before the rise of the Solomonic dynasty. He was a tyrant, demanding child sacrifices, feared by all. In the legends, it is Queen Makeda, the famous Queen of Sheba, who defeats Arwe and frees her people from his reign of terror. Some scholars have dismissed Arwe as folklore, but when read alongside apocalyptic writings in the Ethiopian tradition, the parallels between Arwe and the dragon of Revelation are impossible to ignore. Both are serpents, both demand allegiance or destruction, and both are defeated by a chosen ruler, whether it be the Christ of Revelation or the Sheban queen guided by God's wisdom. But the connection deepens. In the Book of Enoch, a foundational Ethiopian text, the Watchers, fallen angels who took human wives and birthed giants, are described as beings cast down and bound beneath the earth. Among them is Azazel, a name that appears nowhere in the canonical Western Bible except in obscure references in Leviticus. But in Enoch, Azazel is a central figure in the rebellion against heaven. Ethiopia's apocalyptic tradition does not always equate Azazel with Satan, but rather sees him as a distinct being, one with his own motives and influence. This is where things grow strange. Some ancient Ethiopian monks, according to Guizi commentaries preserved in monasteries like Debre Damo and Lalibela, believe that Azazel and Arwe were two aspects of the same force, one spiritual, one earthly. In this view, the dragon of Revelation is not simply Satan, but a multifaceted power that existed long before the Garden of Eden, whose roots reach into primordial chaos. The dragon is rebellion itself, not merely a fallen angel, but a system, a shadow, a ruler of the darkened age. Interestingly, in the Guizi rendering of Revelation, which has slight textual variants from the Greek and Latin versions, the dragon is sometimes described using titles closer to Great Serpent of the Deep, Tanan Rabbah in Hebrew, echoing not just the beast of Revelation, but also the Leviathan of Job and Psalms. Ethiopian scribes link this ancient monster to the chaos serpent slain by God at the beginning of time, a narrative that appears not only in the Bible, but in Mesopotamian myths like the slaying of Tiamat by Marduk. Could this mean that Ethiopia preserved an even older memory, one in which the dragon was more than just a future enemy, but an ancient force locked in an eternal cycle with God? Some Ethiopian commentaries say yes. The dragon is the enemy of divine order, manifesting in various forms. Arwe in ancient times, Rome during persecution, colonial empires in modern ages, and a yet-to-come entity in the end times. In Ethiopian iconography, depictions of the dragon are rare but symbolic. In certain illuminated manuscripts like the Garima Gospels, some of the oldest surviving Christian manuscripts in the world, dragons are shown being slain by saintly figures, sometimes with halos that echo Christ's. In one 15th century manuscript from Lake Tana, a dragon is painted with a crown and 7 heads, a chilling mirror to the description in Revelation 12 verse 3. Ethiopian monks believe that this image was not a prophecy yet to be fulfilled, but an ancient event remembered through mystical vision. This is why Ethiopian priests have long taught that to understand Revelation, one must read backwards, through Enoch, through the Book of Adam, through Jubilees, tracing the dragon not as a future terror but a recurring wound. In that sense, Arway is not merely a villain from the past, he is the first Antichrist before the word existed. And his name, whispered still in some liturgical circles, is regarded as a warning. Ethiopia, more than any nation, sees the dragon not as fiction, but as a spirit that has ruled empires, corrupted faiths, and even infiltrated churches. Perhaps the most haunting takeaway from Ethiopia's dragon tradition is this: the dragon is not coming. It's already here. And it always has been. In this way, Ethiopia's apocalyptic worldview doesn't merely look forward to an Armageddon. It sees every age as a battlefield between the dragon and the light, between Arwe and the spirit of the Most High. And the victory, though assured in prophecy, must be won anew in every generation,